right, and thank you for bringing that back. Next up, we have an investigative journalist who used AI to find a uniquely strong story about how Al Jazeera systematically spread misinformation about Sweden. Please welcome journalist at HD Sydsvenskan, Hamdan.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. Yes, I'm going to talk a little bit about disinformation and how you can use AI to look at it. And I'm going to start off by admitting my weaknesses, which as women we should do much less, but I will do this for now. I think a lot of you guys who aren't data journalists, at least, maybe you're heads of papers or journalists that work with other stuff and interested in this are thinking, Jesus, how expensive this is and like complicated. And I can admit myself that that is how I feel. I don't know anything about programming, and I'm not a big time boss at a newspaper. I'm a journalist. But I think this is very fascinating. So I'm going to show you a very concrete case of how you can use AI because it is fun and a useful tool. And you don't need these programs and databases and technicians to help you set it up. You can do it alone in your editorial room. So I started off by asking ChatGPT who I am to present myself, and it said, Ines Hamdan is a writer and a journalist. She fled from the war in Syria and have written books about the conflict there. And that I write about Syria a lot. That is false. That is not me. I am a journalist based in Malmö, Sweden. I work at the newspaper Sydsvenskan. I am born in Syria. I don't know how it found out that. But I'm ethnically Palestinian, and my family is from Lebanon, so it missed that. And I have not written any books about the conflicts in Syria or any books at all. So, yeah, it got that wrong. But today I am going to talk about what has been described as the biggest disinformation campaign against Sweden ever. And as an Arabic-speaking person, I have been aware of the fact that for a long time now, a little bit more than 2 years, Sweden has had a narrative shift in Arabic media. I grew up with Al Jazeera on the TV when I grew up in Sweden. The parable was out on the balcony, and we got it on our thick TV that we had like long after the thin TVs came out because they were very expensive. And I remember watching it, so I am very aware of Al Jazeera and the reporting, and I grew to appreciate it a lot. But in 2021, December, there was a YouTuber, Egyptian YouTuber, who interviewed a mother in Gothenburg, Sweden's second largest city. In it, he spoke with this woman about what she described as a systematic kidnapping of Muslim children in Sweden. She gave 10 cases about where she means that children have been kidnapped from their Muslim parents and given, insinuating to Swedes in general, but insinuating it's most often to homosexuals, parentheses, pedophiles. In doing that, she started a fire in the Arabic media where everybody bought this lie. The cases she described were existing, but given that it's a matter of public record, we were able to read every single case. And with every single case, it was pretty much either that the parents were divorcing and the kids got to another person, or a huge amount of abuse, which made it necessary for the state to come in and save the children. But still, media outlets all around the Arabic world and the Middle East, including Turkey, decided that this was true, that this was something they could trust. And all over Arabic media, you could read about Sweden, the country that kidnaps Muslim children. And I got frustrated because I wanted to write about this, but I wanted to explain how big of a disaster this is. In November of 22, I see that the same YouTuber has yet another live stream in which he speaks this time about two parents living in Sweden, two dads. He shows a report that was made by Aftonbladet in Sweden, in which they show up this family and how they have adopted two beautiful children. He looks at one of the children and says, her name is Miriam. That means she got kidnapped by the Muslim family because Swedes don't call anybody Miriam, and therefore we need to save this child. Soon after, I contact this family that had no idea what was going on. And I tell them, and they're like, yeah, we have been receiving death threats in foreign languages. We don't know what's happening. And I contact them, and I dig deeper into this. Not only was Miriam not kidnapped, obviously. She wasn't of Arabic descent, Muslim descent. She even was given to them by parents who had mental health issues that consented that she was get raised by these lovely parents. But did Al Jazeera or Turkish media care about that? Absolutely not. So with all of that, I write about these anecdotal examples where people's lives get ruined, where children get exposed, and people are afraid for their lives because this couple had never before gone through something similar to this. And I want to show that this is systematic, because every time I report about it, it's like, oh, they fumbled again. But no, I am well aware, as an Arabic speaker, that this is systematic. So I decide to investigate the narrative about Sweden in Arabic media. And I decided to look at specifically Al Jazeera. The reason I picked Al Jazeera is not because it was the worst example, but because they are the largest, with the best reputation, and are usually shown as a lead in the Arabic world for what journalism should be. To this day, they have some of the best journalists in the world. But so to be able to show what they are doing is to show the best of the best. And when I investigated what they're reporting about in Sweden, I found that they're looking at three subjects. First off, NATO. Everybody is spoke about NATO during 2023, and obviously that was the biggest part. The second part was Quran burnings. In that part, they spoke a lot about the crisis that happened due to the Quran burnings that were happening in Sweden. And then lastly, like the other bulbs, like kidnapping children, that was mostly in 22, but it appeared anyways, and Islamophobia, right-wing extremism. Turkey, I got like a question mark. Why is it there? I will explain soon. And it was a very confusing image of Sweden, where it's a nation where you burn the Quran for breakfast, kidnap a child for dinner, and then go to sleep dreaming about NATO. And that didn't feel completely correct. So I looked deeper into this, and I spoke to international journalists who were like, yeah, but like if you ignore the children kidnappings, that's pretty much how Sweden is portrayed in every media right now. Like that's the deal of it. But that was not what was the big deal here. So we got the key themes by using AI, and I will explain how I use that, we were able to get the key themes in the reporting. Okay, but how does it look when they write about these three subjects? Okay, with the children kidnapping, they do not write there is false information about Sweden kidnapping children, giving them to pedophiles or homosexuals or Swedes or any other bad category they would get to their Arabic public. Instead, they were driving that narrative, writing stories before they even got into a big audience. And that is, for example, what they did with the two dads in Sweden. Okay, Quran then. Do they write, this is hateful, but yeah, this is what's happening, people are reacting? No. They constantly spread actual disinformation about it. In Sweden, the narrative goes, it's allowed to burn the Quran, it's encouraged to burn the Quran, but it is forbidden to burn the Torah, the pride flag, or the Swedish flag. This is completely false, but that is the narrative, on and on and on. And then the thing about NATO, it was actually pretty good. Like, it wasn't any problematic parts of that, but I noticed, you know, how Turkey was coming up again and again. And the bulb, if you remember, of Turkey was equal, if not larger, than NATO. So I was confused about that. And when I looked deeper into it, I realized that the reason Turkey was big was not only because of their big role in the NATO story, but because Al Jazeera relies heavily on a media agency called Anadolu Agency. In their reporting about the Sweden that kidnaps children, how they pick conspiracy theorists to talk about Sweden as experts, Anadolu Agency is the media outlet that is actually behind these articles. And I spoke to Turkey experts, and they all confirmed that Anadolu Agency is directly controlled by Erdogan's office. So during an ongoing negotiation about getting together in a military alliance, Turkey is pumping out disinformation about Sweden. So that is pretty much how I did it, and I'm going to talk quickly now about how I did it. So for me, again, I do not know a lot about AI and stuff, so what I did was actually, I Googled Sweden, aljazeera.net, Sweden in Arabic. And then I got into their site, where it was #Sweden, like a directory of all their articles about Sweden. I copied them one by one and put them into ChatGPT one by one and asking it to summarize what key subjects are being spoken about in this. After that, I got for each article, so like it was very manual job. Like I told you, some expert here could have done it much quicker, but I do not know how to do that. So I put it in, and I get keywords for the article. I put the keywords in another document, and I repeat that 100 times. So I take the 100 latest articles about Sweden in Al Jazeera Arabic. And then I have 300 keywords. I take these 300 keywords, and I put them in ChatGPT again, and I ask it to look at what tendencies are there in this. And with that, I was able to generate the bulbs of subject you saw earlier. And by doing that, I had created a data set to show a narrative, a very clear narrative, to be able to put it together with what is actually being said in these articles, and was able to show that this was absolutely systematic. The prompt was most important part here. I tried it two times, and the third time I was able to tell it exactly what I wanted it to do. For example, I asked it for 4 keywords instead of 3 when I wanted 3, because every time I put it in, one of the keywords were Sweden. So that was not very useful to me. So instead, I asked for that keyword, and in that way, I got 3 keywords. And yeah, I tested it once, 1, 2, 3 times, and then when I got this, I can say, like, I looked at it multiple times. I had quality assurance. I started off by 10% quality assurance. And then, going on forward, when I felt that was okay, we did further and further, and I did like half of the articles for quality assurance. And I can say, not a single part was wrong. And that helped me, like, with the fact-checking and verification of this whole thing. I was able to actually remove the fact that I, as a human, like, if I read an article and Quran burnings were mentioned, because I am looking for that in the articles, I might take that part and put it in as a keyword, because, like, that's just a human nature thing. But thanks to the AI doing it, it didn't know what I was looking for. It didn't know what keywords I wanted. It was able to do this blindly and remove the human bias. So I feel honestly that this didn't only save me time, which it did. I was able to read 100 articles in Arabic, a language that's not very easy, and translate it, summarize it in half a day. That's pretty good. But not only that, I was able to remove the human faults in it, and I was able to find the Turkey link, which I wouldn't have done if I only did it as a human, because I don't look at the end at sources and stuff like that. So it was able to summarize that for me, which was great. So with that, all of that, I want to say that AI is fun, doesn't need to be very expensive, and you should encourage your journalists to try it out without big databases. Thank you very much.